Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Drafting Motherhood. If you're new here, Drafting Motherhood is a show where we talk about motherhood shit, like losing your identity after having kids and trying to find it again, or being creative when there's messes literally everywhere. I share my own personal stories. I have two young toddlers. They're wild, they're sassy, they're a great time. But we talk about the beautiful, the struggles, just all the real stuff of motherhood. So if you like that, thanks for coming. However, this time, this episode is going to be about the other part of the show where I talk about my journey to becoming a published author. I've been writing children's books the last, I don't know, like 7, 8 months with my best friend who is illustrating them. So we're super excited, but we're also pretty new into this journey. So this episode would be boring if I just sat here and talked about children's books, but I don't know anything about the industry. So why not talk to someone who's already in the industry, right? So I had the pleasure of hosting the author of the very successful series, Little Miss History. Throughout our chat, Barbara shares how she got into becoming a children's book author with her husband, by the way. I know, so cute. She studied history in college, but she didn't want to go on to be a professor, so she found herself in education for most of her life serving children, which is another thing that we have a lot in common. And it wasn't until she retired that she decided to dive into the author world.
Well, the series, it's interesting. Like you're partnered with a friend. In my case, my illustrator is my husband, and
Oh,
it
how
was
cool.
really his idea to develop the character of Little Miss History to narrate because after I retired, I wanted to kind of keep working with children in some way, and I also wanted to get back to my roots with history. My undergraduate and graduate degrees are in history. I've always loved history. But once I finished my studies, I realized I didn't want to be the academic tower kind of historian where I just did research all the time. I wanted to be connected with people. I realized for a while that the educational system wasn't meeting kids' needs
Yeah.
and that how they all learned in different ways and different styles. And we really weren't addressing that. And I took a real U-turn and I decided to go into special education. There was a new program available, and I one of my friends got involved in it, so I decided to do it and changed my career totally. If I hadn't taken that step out, which I had stayed stuck for a long time,
Sure.
realizing that I wanted to do this, but having my own kids, raising my own kids, and so on. It wasn't until they were in high school that I really acted on it. But by doing that, it opened up this whole new world for me. And then when I retired, another step around, I realized, I wanted to keep doing this in some way. I wanted to do something with history. So first, I started writing historical articles for a local news magazine, and I still do
Cool.
that. I've been doing that since 2011.
Nice. Wow.
So it's just a short article every month, and they have a theme for the month, and then I somehow try to adapt that theme to something historical.
Yeah.
And and then I said, I really want to keep in touch with kids. So I said, I really would like to write history for kids in a way that's going to make them really think
Sure.
and interact and learn, but have fun doing it. So my husband suggested this cartoon character because he's been an artist all his life. And he's done comics, he's done children's books, and all different types of artwork. So I'll design a character, and she can narrate these series. So we did that, and she's based on a younger version of me. The
Oh,
outfit she wears is kind of like a hiking type of outfit,
yeah.
and that represents the younger me. the big boots are in honor of my father's big feet, and the glasses are rose colored because she has an optimistic view of the world.
Oh,
So it's kind of quirky, but I
I
hope that
love
kids
that.
somehow see a bit of themselves in her,
Yeah.
and they kind of identify with her and she asks them questions. It's very interactive, and I use critical thinking throughout the book. So I'm trying to develop their critical thinking skills while uh, getting them to speak out and formulate their own ideas as to how we may solve some of these problems today, and what do they think, what could they do in their own communities to solve that. So that's kind of how the series was born.
As Barbara describes the creation of Little Miss History, I can totally see the resemblance between her and the main character. And not just because her husband illustrated the main character in Barbara's likeness, but you can see that there's such passion behind these subjects. She doesn't have her nose stuck in a book writing about these places. Her and her husband are boots on the ground. They are going to each of these sites, learning about all of these things. Her husband is hand drawing these maps. The exception, of course, being Antarctica. They have not been there, and I don't blame them. But Little Miss History's goal, above all else, seems to be complete and thorough historical accuracy.
The series is very much multimedia. So we go to the sites and we take photographs. So that's part of the book. So we will use photography from the sites, and then uh, my husband will illustrate with portraits in some cases of the people that we talk about, hand-drawn portraits, and most of it's hand-drawn. He really is not the computer art person.
Sure.
Although he's very savvy with computer skills and he can lay out the book, uh, he prefers doing the hand drawn. So
Sure.
he'll draw maps. Sometimes we will use history in the common domain. If there's something from the Smithsonian Institution that's appropriate, something like that. But most of it is hand drawn. So sometimes in the books you'll find maps. Sometimes you'll find uh, items from a museum that we visited in connection with that site. Sometimes you'll find literature. Sometimes you'll find mythology. Sometimes you'll find um, science. So some of the books, like Sequoia National Park, we talk about the sequoia trees, how they grow, and the geology of the park, and so on. The only book that we have that was done without physical visit is the North Pole book.
Oh, sure.
We've been to the North Pole,
Although
but the
that would
others
have been
all
one
have.
heck of a story.
Yeah, it would be, but at this point in my life, I don't think I'm that
It's cold.
adventurous.
We know. We know what's up there. It's a whole bunch of nothing. It's fine. Maybe.
But all the books, encompass not only history. I make connections. Like the book about Ford's Theater, we talk a lot about Lincoln and, of course, what happened at Ford's Theater, and but we also talk about the curse of Ford's Theater and its whole history,
Sure.
and we talk about in some books, well, like controversies, like in when we're talking about the night before Christmas, we bring up the fact that some historians believe that Clement Moore didn't really write The Night Before Christmas, that it was actually Livingston. So, like,
Okay.
we will bring up issues that maybe got sidetracked or were somewhat not brought to light or recognized at the time. So, in a lot of my books, like when I talk about um, World War II, and we talk about the battleship Iowa, we talk about how some of the units were segregated segregated. There was a black unit, and
Yep.
almost all of them were wiped out in a kamikaze
Yep.
attack. One of them who survived for 50 years tried to get the true recognition for what they had done,
Right.
and he was eventually awarded the Naval Cross. But so we'll talk about things that went well. We'll talk about things that didn't work out well. We'll talk about things that maybe some people never even heard of or didn't know about. We'll bring out alternate points of view. So when we're talking about Mount Rushmore, we talk about how the land was taken from the Lakota Sioux, how the government went back on
Yes.
their word. Then we talk about how the Lakota Nation today is building their own memorial,
Mhm.
the Crazy Horse
Yep.
Memorial. We go into that. We talk about Native American rights and how some people at the UN are advocating for Native American rights. We ask the kids, well, what do they think? Should we have one monument? Should we have two? What do they think? How should we handle it? When we talk about pollution in beautiful Sequoia National Park, it's the most polluted park in the system.
Yeah.
Not many people realize that, but there's sometimes actually post signs that say it's unhealthy to breathe air here.
Wow, I did
And
not know that.
we tell kids about that. We say, what do you think about all the pollution in the San Joaquin Valley? Do you have any ideas on how we could make that better? So it's kind of just a springboard for teaching them some basic history. So also encouraging them, if possible, to go with their families to visit these places
Right.
and see them in person, and also for if they can't do that, even for their just for their input and their ideas, um, kind of encouraging them to take more active part in their community and develop the leadership qualities that we hope someday they are the next generation. So we hope
Right.
that we are building a good platform, a good basis for that.
One of the things I love most about this Little Miss History series is how vast the audience age is. As Barbara was describing who all is enjoying her book, she was talking about preschoolers and middle schoolers and how even adults are telling her they're learning so much from these books and they love reading them as well. And as an author, I thought that was super cool to be able to have a body of work that appeals to so many different people. And honestly, it had me examining my own work and saying, how can I shift this in different ways when I'm reading it to different age groups? Can I also ask thought provoking questions? And I know not every body of work needs to appeal to every single age. But it is cool to know that I don't have to pigeonhole myself into saying that, oh, my books are only for these couple years and then after that you won't enjoy it. So it's really cool to see that this Little Miss History series has grown from Barbara's love of serving children to now even adults are telling her, I'm learning so much from your books. Do you feel like your books have done better with younger children, like in elementary school, middle school? Where do you think your sweet spot is for your age range?
Uh, it varies, I guess, book by book and according to a child's interest. I've had children in preschool. I've actually gone into preschool a couple of times, and I've treated the book more or less from a picture book version
Sure.
and just gone through the pictures and talked to them on a very basic level about what they see and what it means to them. Um, uh, Most of the time when I go into a school, uh, it's the it's a kindergarten through sixth grade sweet spot.
Okay.
And for different reasons, with the kindergarten kids, they're very excited to see the big things and to hear about how it it came into being, and then talking to them in comparing it to different types of experiences that they may have had. With the second and the third graders, it gets into more questioning, more of a discussion. With fourth, fifth, and sixth graders, it takes a different turn. They begin to make more connections with other things in their life. They're more in tune to looking outside of their immediate self and community
Right.
and looking at the bigger picture, at at the wider world. So I find that a sixth grade could be just as interested and excited, but in a different way
Right.
than a kindergartner or a first grader would be. So I would say most of the time it's like a 6 to 12 age range sweet spot. Although I've had adults and grandmothers buy the books and tell me, "Oh, I never knew that. I never, oh, that's really amazing."
Right.
So
Well,
they're
you're gonna have
really
one more
cool.
mom getting these books saying the same thing. They sound
It's more
amazing.
like, again, according to their interests. I
Sure.
mean, I've had some people that like I do a couple of book festivals pretty much every year that
Nice.
are at the same time of year, and a lot of people will come back and say, "Oh, what's the new book for this year?" Or I bought that book and we went to that national park or we went to that site
Yeah.
and we were like all prepared for when we got there, and it meant a lot more. The experience was a lot deeper than just signing up, going on a random tour, and
Right.
walking around.
And especially it's going back to that piece that you originally started writing for that connection. While it may have been for the kids, how great that even adults are like, "Hey, I'm using your books as like," they might be walking around with it as like a little guide. They're walking through Yellowstone. If you do a Yellowstone one, I had my honeymoon in Yellowstone. I'll be looking out for that one because we want to go again. And I'd love
Yeah,
to be
I'm
a little more
close
prepared.
to doing that. I have one little guy who was really into dinosaurs and fossils, and he was only 4, and um, he actually wrote and created a picture for me. These are the fossils, and he like did this whole thing
Oh.
and sent me a picture. And he said, "I hope to go there." And a couple of years later, his parents did take him there,
Oh.
and he sent me a picture of him there, in the
How
museum.
sweet.
But so here was a 4-year-old that just happened to have an interest in that, and the book became a springboard for his,
Right.
the trip and everything.
Little Miss History has become a crowd favorite among, as we've seen, almost every age. And it's also extremely popular with the homeschool community. But you know who it's not popular with? Public schools. Surprise, surprise. Barbara and I discussed a bit about the education system and having both spent time in it. I could tell through unspoken words that we felt pretty similarly. I have my feelings about public education, and they change with the moon, honestly. But at this current moment, the one constant is how extremely disheartening it is that our education system has become a business. And maybe it always has been. And maybe I'm just old enough to finally see that. But I think it's insane that districts are making schools only buy books from specific vendors, and those vendors are only selling books that align with what they believe, and in some cases, their specific adaptation of history. And so while they're busy scratching each other's backs and making money, our kids' educations are suffering. Greed and politics have attempted to rewrite history, but Barbara and her husband are committed to standing apart from that narrative through Little Miss History. And so, in our final moments together, Barbara shares her goals for the Little Miss History books, the resources that she provides on her website, as well as her own personal goals and her career plans moving forward.
To provide a resource for kids,
Yeah.
to make learning fun as opposed to the textbook. And then some of the books that are out there today, again, it's very regimented because the schools uh, are part of big business.
Yeah.
Um, in many cases, they're limited ordering from only a couple of places. My books are not widely available in public school.
Okay.
They will never be ordered. Those schools will only order from certain big conglomerates,
Sure.
which is tied to all kinds of political stuff and
Mm-hmm.
union stuff, and
Yep.
a lot of homeschool parents use my books, and
Yeah.
a lot of like micro schools and charter schools.
Right.
More you will find them more often. They are in some libraries, but not necessarily in school. A lot of parents became aware during COVID what was being taught, and even more what was not being taught.
Yep.
And that's when they started, the movement for more charter schools, more micro schools, more community schools. And too, some of my grandchildren were involved in these community schools for a while. Um, and they've gone back and forth, public, private, community schools,
Right.
depending on a lot of circumstances and the time. Uh, and I think parents really have to decide what's best for their own child and their
Right.
child's learning style. Videos on my YouTube channel also for book authors. I have a playlist for that. And I also do teaching videos and history videos as resources for kids.
Oh,
So I have
nice.
history for kids, and I have, you know, teaching videos on all different subjects. So, like, I do like science, little mini science lesson, or things that could be used to supplement for parents, preschoolers, homeschoolers, all kinds of things. So it's
That's
kind of
awesome.
snowballed from the books into, if anyone goes to my website, littlemisshistory.com, you can see there, you can click on any of them. At this point, I'm just trying to spend the rest of my life kind of gathering the things I've learned along the way and hopefully helping somebody else in some small way, to achieve whatever goal they're looking to achieve, as well as, of course, working with the kids.
Barbara's passion for history and her love for children was infectious. And honestly, one of my favorite parts of this podcast is getting to be able to talk to other people from different walks of life. Whether it's from your story submissions or a random DM on TikTok or these interviews, it's a chance to connect with someone. And selfishly, when I'm feeling a little stuck, it's been really helpful for me to get a different perspective. And I think the most important thing that Barbara provided for us today was hope. A hope that no matter where you are in life, whatever's going on with your personal life or your work, no matter your age, everyone has a spark. And yes, she has found great success in this Little Miss History series, but she's also been extremely successful throughout her life building this foundation of serving children. So if you feel like you haven't found your spark yet, keep going. It's going to find you eventually. But you have to enjoy where you are first in the building process. So, if you're interested in being a guest on the show, whether you're also an author or an entrepreneur, if you think that your story would be helpful to another mom, hit me up. You can send me an email anytime to draftingmotherhoodpod@gmail.com, and I'll be sure to put that email in the description below. Thanks for listening, guys. And remember, don't take life too seriously. Start enjoying the building process. The spark will come. Just leave your heart open, stay curious, and the rest will be history. I'll see you guys next week. Let's keep talking.